Good morning, everyone. Okay, so living here again. And I wanted to talk to you about the things we say and do in our guided meditations. I'm always telling you all that this isn't magical thinking. And yet, when you listen to some of our guided meditations, you may listen to some of it and say, what in the world are those people doing? What is this stuff they're talking about? What are they in a pyramid for? What are these dragons and unicorns they're talking about? What in the world? Are they sure this isn't magical thinking? Have I tuned into Nickelodeon or something here? I don't even know if Nickelodeon even exists anymore, folks. I'm showing my age again. Nor do I watch television, so I don't know. But you all get the drift, right? I want to tell you the real reason why we do these things. And I'm not going to be able to cover an entire guided meditation, or we would be here way too long. So I'm going to start with in the beginning, but not that in the beginning. We're going to start with in the beginning of meditations. I am going to discuss with you, though, why I don't get heavily into the breathing. No, somebody's going to play with that. I would. But anyway, moving right along. I don't talk a whole lot about the breathing in the meditations that I do because, one, they're guided meditations. And so we're not going into deep into center. We're not there to totally quiet the mind. We're not there for deep inner contemplation all alone. And frequently we need to do that when we're taking ourselves deep and we're doing deep meditation on our own. Also, most of the people who do the meditations with me, they have a rhythm that they fall into for the breathing anyway. So I don't do a lot of focus on the breathing. And the other thing is, a lot of people don't want to do meditation because the breathing part makes them uncomfortable. I'll hear people say, I don't think I do the breathing right. Well, the breath does matter with meditation. And I know some people make fun of me because I'll say, listen, people, breathing matters. And they're like, yeah, you're dead if you're not breathing. Well, of course, beyond the obvious, folks, okay? The breath matters because it's what slows the nervous system down. It's what calms us down. It's also in between the breaths is that space where we're not able to think about other things. And so we really are able to come to the calm. So when we're doing deep breathing, we are able to come into that calm space and we're able to pull ourselves into frequency. And the more we do that deep breathing, the more times we have that space in between the breath, that void in between the breath, when we're able to be in frequency. So the more we do that, the longer amount of time we're holding frequency. But I don't focus on breath a lot for those reasons I just gave. One, we're doing a guided meditation, so people tend to get in their heads pretty easily anyway, and into the hearts, and then into the heart space pretty easily anyway, and then into the third eye and all the places that I'm taking them in the meditation anyway. And people have their own breathing patterns usually anyway that they use for meditation, because most people have been doing meditation for a while that listen to me, and I don't want to have people who are intimidated by I want you to breathe in here, and I want you to count 4 times and hold it 3 and exhale 4. And some people get so intimidated by all of that they won't try meditation. Now, I do sometimes, though, have you do things like breathe in through the third eye. And people are like, I breathe through my nose and my mouth. How do I do that? So that's more of a intention setting thing. And you know how you can feel like you're bringing the breath in like through your heart instead of like through your mouth or your nose, you're pulling the breath in here. It's the same thing. We can feel like we're breathing in through our whole body. We're bringing the breath in through the whole body. It's that thing. So that's really all I want to say about breathing and breath. And yes, breathing is important. And y'all can make fun of me all you want to with that. I'm laughing at myself with it too, because I listen to them sometimes and I'm like, yeah, that sounded pretty ditzy, didn't it? But I figure y'all know what I'm talking about. And if you want to laugh, go ahead and laugh, because that raises your vibrational frequency and I have done my job. So moving right along, the thing I really want to talk to you about today is all the stuff at the very beginning, where the first thing I do is I'll start calling in guides and ancestors and all the beings of the angelic realm and ascended masters and archangels and angels and yes, the dragons and the unicorns and the phoenix and the Pegasus. And yeah, that all does sound kind of fairy tale-ish, doesn't it? Or very religious even. Yeah, and certainly esoterical. And so what in the world, if I keep saying, listen, folks, this isn't, this is not, what's the terminology I use? This is very real. It's not fairy tale stuff. It's not magic. It's none of those things. Then why am I talking about things that many people say, well, I've never seen a real unicorn and or a real dragon or a real Pegasus for that matter. And many people believe in angels, but they're not quite sure what they've got to do with this. And yes, many people talk to their ancestors and may understand what ascended masters are or may not, but what is all that got to do with meditation? What are you doing? Why are you calling these people, things, animals in? Well, these are personifications of energy. And I've said this before. But what I mean is, now, for those of you who are big believers in angels or even dragons and unicorns, please don't get offended. We're personifications of energy, okay? We are physical personifications, tactile personifications. We are made up of protons, electrons, and neutrons that are consolidated in a manner that we form a tactile being in this dimensional plane, in this plane of existence, in this dimension. Now, there are dimensions all around us vibrating at different frequencies that we can't see. But once you get open to all your clair abilities, your other senses, you can detect these other dimensions. These are energies that are in these other dimensions. Now, in those other dimensions, we are just energies that are in another dimension. Now, how they perceive us, I don't know the answer to that. And it's not been channeled to me. So I don't know, even though I know that we are energy in a tactile body, protons, electrons, and neutrons all put together in a way that refract out. And therefore, the visual perception is this. I don't know what the energy that we have personified as an angel sees whenever they interact with us. I don't know if they see me looking like what you see right now, or maybe they just see light. I don't know what they see. And I don't know what they call us. I know in our interactions, it's what our interactions are, but that's in this plane of existence. That's in this dimension. That is through my intuition. Okay. You see, intuition resides in the dimension of imagination. We are multi-dimensional beings. We have a dimension within ourselves called imagination. That does not mean where we make stuff up. That means where we can conceive of things, where we are able to conceptualize, where we're able to identify that which the mind has not been programmed with. So things we have not conceived of before, we have not been aware of before, we have not been consciously aware of before, we can become consciously aware of now. It's where our intuition resides. It is the intuitive mind. You ever had that feeling in your belly where your gut told you something? That's a different type of intuition. That is a different dimension within you. You're a multi-dimensional being. There's a different dimension, a different chakra, different vortex within you. Each dimension has its own chakra. So it's a different chakra. And it is perceiving energies. And that chakra, one of its designations is to warn you about things. I get a gut feeling about that. I get a gut feeling about her. I get a gut feeling about that. Don't have a good gut feeling about that. We all say this. Well, that's what that is. It's the gut mind. Okay? So the thinking mind is the programmable one, the ego, the one that is, damn, I know what I'm doing. And that is not a bad thing. It protects us. It does so many good things for us. But it cannot conceive of or intuit the other dimensions around us. It hasn't been programmed with that. Now, once we have recognized them, then it's like, oh yeah, I know that energy. Yeah. Then it becomes part of its programming. And so that it can take part in it once it has experienced it. But until it has, it's not open to it. So it rejects it. We've never felt that before. We've never experienced that before. We've never said that doesn't exist. Yes, it does. But this thinking mind is not open to anything it has not yet experienced. It's like when you go to school and they tell you that you're going to learn all this stuff and you're like, I'm going to what? I'm going to learn all that? Really? It's hard to conceive of because the mind is like, I'm not sure we can do that. Well, until you've done it. And then you're like, oh yeah, we can do that. We did it last year. We did it the year before. We did it the year before that. And we made straight freaking A's too. And yeah. So then we don't have to rely so much here on the intuition or the conception of that. Yeah, I can go to school and learn all of that. Because the mind has already experienced it. And the mind is like, piece of cake. We do this every year, not a problem. Okay. So these are personifications that we have done so that we can relate to these other dimensions that our chakras are able to sense. Now, again, those of you who have go by your gut, and I know most people do. Most people will say, my gut told me that. I had a gut feeling about that. I just knew to do it. Yeah, I had a sense about that. Okay. For those of us who are highly in tune to our chakra system, who feel the little vortexes spinning, we may not feel them literally, but we feel the energy around us. We are aware of all these other dimensions. Sounds quite schizophrenic, doesn't it? Well, we are schizophrenic beings. If you define schizophrenia as being able to hear and see things that other people can't, well, then the entire human race potentially is schizophrenic. And that does not mean that it should be hijacked by the psychological world as an illness if we're going to use it in that way. The problem is when you can't when you can't tell the difference between it's real and it's not. When I was first channeled to about what was happening with me as I was becoming, I'd always heard more than one voice in my head, always had the conversations going, the telling me how to do things and what things were, et cetera, et cetera. I thought everybody had all that in their head. I didn't know. It's not like when you're a little kid, you ask the questions. So how many voices are in your head explaining things to you? You know, you think everybody's got that. So then when you get older, you don't ask friends and stuff because when you grow up that way, you think everybody has all these people, voices in their heads and all this stuff that they just know that's just coming to them. And people would ask Daddy, they would say, how does she know that? And they say, oh, I don't know, she just knows stuff. Well, so I thought everybody just knew stuff. And I thought, well, maybe some people don't because those people don't get it, but Daddy gets it and other people get it. And so I didn't realize until I started getting it like faster and faster or lots of it. And well, okay. So I just know stuff and get it faster than other people. Well, they'd say you're smart. Okay. Well, I made good grades, so I guess it was. So I accepted that too. But then a few years ago, I would get a voice that I'd always had that I thought was just one of the ways that my brain thought. There's one of the synapses is firing, and that's what that sounds like. And there was this energy distortion that was with it, kind of like the Predator movies, okay? And I was like, what's going on here? And then there would be the different sounding one, and another, I would either feel it, or it would be that the voice would be at a different place and I could feel the energy, or there would be a slight energy distortion again. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm clairaudient. And they're like, yeah, and we're archangels. And then they identified themselves. And that is the personification. That is the way they are identifying with me. And so they have personified themselves, or I have personified them, or together we have personified them, so that I understand who they are and how to communicate with them in this plane of existence. Now, what they are in their dimension, I don't know. Just like I don't know if I were to, or when I bleed over into their dimension, how the personification is done there. I'm only familiar with how it is done in this dimension, in this plane of existence. Okay? Is that making sense to you? Now, when all of that first happened to me, I had a son who was schizophrenic. And I was very familiar with Akasha. I was becoming an Akasha records reader, all of these things. And so they showed me, they said, we want to explain to you the difference in what you have and what was going on with your son. My son was, I have an older son who is freaking brilliant, okay? And Dr. Thomas is freaking brilliant. My younger son, Michael, my older son is Patrick. Michael was brilliant too, and yet not. His IQ was not high, but in some ways he was so intelligent. They had to test him 3 times to be sure, is he really not, or is he? Because some things he understood so well, and if he could keep you on those things, you had no clue. But then whenever he would get to the things that he could not, his brain couldn't handle, then it was so obvious. And so he would try to keep you away from those things, so you wouldn't know that he was only, those were the only things that he grasped in this plane of existence. And so what they showed me was the reason Michael is the way he is, the reason Michael is schizophrenic, because he was also schizophrenic, is all these things that you hear and all these timelines you see, because I see timelines. I see all the ways things can be. I used to think it was because I was Gemini, okay? And Gemini can see both sides of everything and understand exactly why both sides have merit. And so I used to think that made me a great moderator and a great connector and all of those things, and it does. But it's because I see all the different timelines. I see all the potentialities. Well, that's what Akasha is. Akasha is where we plan, we reverse engineer these lives so we can stay within the vibrational frequency, the bandwidth of unconditional love. And so all the different timelines are there. Well, I see those. And so I get it. I'm like, it could go this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way, this way. And that's why I feel as I am grounded. I'm like, because I can see all the different timelines. Okay. Well, Michael, he was seeing all the different timelines, and he was a sensitive like me. He could feel all these chakras. He could feel the different dimensions of energy around him and hear them. He was clairaudient. So he had all this bombarding him, and an IQ of 52 in many areas. He couldn't discern. His programmable mind was not able to take what was happening. He wasn't able to conceptualize it with his intuition. And then the programmable mind wasn't able to process it so he could make sense of it all and discern what was reality and what was not. And there's a lot of energies out there. And so he was getting tapped into by a lot of different energies. Okay. And they said, no, that's the difference. You see all of these and you know exactly where you're at and what's going on and who you are and all of that. And at the same time, you can sit and articulate and talk to someone about it. And we could do this and it could be that and it could be, and we can tell you something. You're like, oh, and this and you could do that all day. And it's not schizophrenic at all. It is us communicating with you and telling you, and you're channeling it. You're putting that out to everyone. And you had no clue that's what was happening, but that's what was happening. And you can see all the timelines and you can hear all the things we're telling you and you can feel all the dimensions around you and we're communicating with you and you're getting all of that. It's coming in through your intuition and you've done it your whole life. So your thinking mind is like, oh yeah, here we go again. It's on board. And so, but Michael couldn't, because he couldn't differentiate what was real, what wasn't, what was dense energy, and what was high vibrational energy. And you have always functioned in high vibrational energy. And that's the difference between you and your son who is schizophrenic. So that is what all of our clairs are about. Clairaudient, I hear. Claircognizant, I just know, because it comes in through the crown, because they're telling me, because instead of saying it, they're just giving it to me. It just comes in. Clairtangency, I can feel things and I just know. Now, is that all the time? No. It is for my best and highest good. It is for everyone's best and highest good. That is how I choose to operate in those gifts, and that is how the universe works with me in those gifts. Universe meaning energy, is because I have set the intention. I don't want my energetic field bombarded all the time so that I am overwhelmed and absorbing energies and sick, because that's why I was sick my whole life, is all of this was coming in and my chakras were wide open and I was taking it all in and didn't know. And then as the planet's vibrational frequency was going up and as my vibrational frequency was going up and I was getting more and more of it, I was getting more and more empathic, getting more and more people's emotions coming in, tuning in to certain people and really getting theirs, and then started touching things and holy smokes, that's what I know what that person, the last person that touched that felt. I know what da-da-da-da. It was all of these came online. I made the conscious choice. No, I closed my energy field down to all of that. I only use those gifts for the best and highest good for my health. And because, how do I want to be treated? I don't want people psychically spying on me, so I don't psychically spy on others. The universe gives me what I need for best and highest good. I don't say, oh, let's peer into the soul of so-and-so. The universe is like, here, you need to know this. And there's a reason for it. And it's best and highest good. And so I can make decisions. So I know what's happening. It's so, because I'm very naive and gullible and I don't get subtlety. And so I get deceived very easily. And so it's like, no, pick that up, feel that. Now, what you believe is not accurate. You have what most people would have gotten with their line through their teeth to you. You just over your head because you trust everyone. So feel that. Yeah, they didn't mean that. No, they didn't mean it. Now that's why you have clairtangency. Because we have to get your attention somehow or another. And you don't get it any other way. So you have the gift of clairtangency. We communicate with you that way. You have the energy vortexes, the chakras, to feel the energy of the truths that most people see and hear. They're looking at them and yeah, they don't mean any of that, but they're smiling and yeah, okay, yeah, thank you very much. You don't. You believe people and you still believe people, and you still believe people. You're 57 years old and you still freaking believe everybody. You don't get the subtleties of deceit. You don't have it in you. You don't get it. So pick up the phone, feel that message they sent you with your little finger chakras. Feel that energy. You were lied to. Oh, that's what that is. Yes. Now smile, just like if they were looking you in the eye, just like everybody else in the world does, and say, okay, level of consciousness, that's how they deal with things. They're passive aggressive. They didn't want to tell me to my face that, no, I don't want to do that with you or whatever. And it's what everybody normally does with everyday conversation, but you don't get it. So we're showing you this way. And it doesn't happen often, but I have that gift. But I don't use it. I don't say like, okay, universe, let me touch this. And what are they thinking? I don't do that. Nor is the universe going to let me do that, because that is not best and highest good. Now, I know there are people who claim to have these gifts, and I'm not saying they don't, but they say they have the gifts and they say they can use them at will. Perhaps. I'm not saying they can or can't, but I know how I want to be treated, and I don't want to be treated that way. So I don't want to put that energy out. Therefore, if I put that energy out, that is what will happen to me. If I start becoming a psychic spy, I will be spied on psychically. I don't want that. So I am not going to become that. All right. So that's how we use our gifts with integrity. That was a sidebar, I know, but it's an important one. And I know we're getting way into this now, much longer than I meant to, but that's a very important one. Very important. Just because we have the gifts and can use them, it's no different than everything else, folks. So don't be afraid of the fact that there are people who are very gifted around you. One, you have the gifts too. You just have to be open to them. Yes. And two, it's no different than all the other things people can choose to do or not choose to do. Are you dealing with someone who operates in integrity, or are you not? Are you dealing with someone who understands that if I do that to someone, I'm inviting that back in my life? I'm well aware of what energy does. If I put it out, it will come back to me. I don't need to do that. I even sometimes when it happens, I'm like, why are you doing that? I get leery of it. There are things that dimensional beings, the archangels and I actually argue about. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. It feels manipulative because you have made me aware of something and now I'm aware. And they're like, everyone else would have been aware anyway. You're aware of it because we've made you aware of it. We've made you aware of it for your best and highest good. The rest of the world would have gotten it anyway. You're gullible. You're naive. You don't catch the subtleties. You don't catch as well as you read body language, as well as you read behavioral styles. You don't hide things like other people do. Therefore, you don't catch it when other people do. And there have been many things I have not wanted to teach because I've been like, you've shown me that there are like 20 people I know that could use this. You've shown that to me because you've shown me there are masks on these 20 people and we pulled them off for you to see. Now we want you to teach on this. I feel like I'm manipulating those 20 people. And they're like, do you know if those 20 people are going to watch or not? And no, I don't know if they'll watch or not. I know there's a possibility they'll watch. And if they do, I feel like I'm manipulating them because I'm saying to them things that I know they need to hear. Yeah, but you don't know if they're going to watch it. And they're not the only 20 people in the world who do it. There are 20,000 and plus who do it. Yeah, but I don't know that those 20,000 are going to know. You don't. And they're not. But those 20 people may not either. You don't know who's going to watch. But other people do this. And we have made you aware of it. And we want you to teach it. And you don't control who watches it and who doesn't. But I've literally had arguments about this with these other dimensional. I've told you all I argue with archangels. I have not wanted to teach things once they have taken the mask off of some people or situations. And I've been like, no, I feel like a manipulator. And they're like, you're not manipulating anybody. You're not making anybody do anything. You're simply teaching what you know. And they are sovereign over self to do with it what they will, just like you are. When somebody else who happens to know you, but they happen to also be teaching on something that hits you and square between the eyes. Do you think they're manipulating you? No, I think they're teaching on what they know, and it happens to hit me square between the eyes. Okay, then. All right. So that's how gifts work, people. I know, rabbit hole, but it was a good one. So anyway, so we have all these dimensional beings around us. We call them beings because we're beings. And so again, it's a personification. So that's who we're calling in to help us. When we say we want our guides to come in, these are what I've been talking about. When I call the guides in, these are my guides. My guides happen to be, for the most part, archangels. I have a few ascended masters. Now, the difference is ascended masters are people that we have known that have lived before, and we know them by names, specific names, usually of past lives that they've had even. And so we know their energy as well. Whereas archangels are angelic, we've been told, beings, energy, okay? But so I call in my guides. Some people call in ancestors. You have people who have lived before you that you're in your family lineage that are connected to you, and they want to use their energy to help you. So many people call in their family ancestors for help. They can feel their energy. You see those who have gone on to another dimension, they're right here. They're just vibrating at a different frequency. My son that I lost, Michael, he also had muscular dystrophy. And so we MD boys usually do not live to be past 17, 19. He lived to be 29. So, but he's right here vibrating at a different frequency. Now I have to tell you, the first time he talked to me, it was a little weird. Yeah, I was used to all the voices in my head. I was not used to someone who was, well, I didn't even believe that people were vibrating at a different frequency. I didn't believe any of this either, folks. But I do know it is true now because I understand the nature of energy. We are energetic beings. I've known for a long time, I knew that, but I didn't understand how energy worked. I didn't understand what dimensionality meant. I didn't understand all of that. But that is how we are able to talk to, literally hear, possibly even see the other side of what people call the veil. It's not a veil. They're just vibrating at a different frequency. There's no veil to be pulled back. We have to be able to access that frequency because we're all energy. They're just at a different frequency now. Now, why don't I see him? I was told whenever all the angels were showing up, I'm like, okay, I can see the disruptions but I don't see you. And like, you could, you don't want to. You would see so much. You know it would overwhelm you and scare you. You don't want to. I talked to you all about your chakras and that they're portals and not to let too much in, so that we don't mess up our manifesting or don't let things in that you shouldn't. Well, just like Michael was overwhelmed by all the stuff he was getting, like you would see so much if you allowed yourself to see. You don't know how to control it yet. So I do see occasionally some things that I don't see a whole lot, but it's at best and highest good thing, and I'm good with it. I hear so much and I've heard my whole life, and it's how I function, and so I'm good. But I do see occasionally. Yeah. So those are my guides. These are the angels that we call in. And different people relate to them in different ways, but this is why we personify them, is we need a way to relate to them. But we've developed ways that in this plane of existence, in the dimension of our intuition, we are able to communicate. These are points of energy transference. They are energy. Our intuition is a point of energy transference. And this is how we are able to interface with them, is by personifying them in some way that makes sense to us, that we can get the thinking brain, the programmable brain, to relate to and say, oh yeah, we can do this. We got this. Sure. Yeah, I know that energy. Or else it would keep rejecting it. Okay. Because it's been programmed to accept that things look like this, or things look like animals. And so we have personified so that the programmable brain will go along with the fact that we are intuiting other energies that we are sensing with our energy vortexes from other dimensions that are around us. So these are the energies we are calling in to support us. Now, these energies, because they are at different frequencies, they're able to support and help us because they see, feel, and know things we don't. And we ask for, we set the intention energetically, our best and highest good. You'll notice that even though I say from the angelic realm, I still say those that have my best and highest good at heart. I don't know that every angel has my best and highest good at heart. There's a reason why we have this mythology of fallen angels. And I've been channeled all of that, and I'm not going to go into it. And our vibrational frequency has raised, and it doesn't matter what all of that is, because whatever it was, we forgive and forget everything and cover it with unconditional love. But that doesn't change the fact that I still don't know the status of everyone's energy or where they're at with things. And you don't know either, nor about your ancestors, or et cetera, or you don't know their opinion on what you're going to be doing. So I only want those with my best and highest good. And you only want to ask for those too, because what you may be perceiving at your current level of consciousness and asking for, et cetera, they may be able to tell, hold on, that's really not her best and highest good. And I'm going to say before it's over, this or better, or I'm saying best and highest good. So they're able to maneuver. I've freed them up to maneuver within the dimensionality that they're in, where they can see, feel, and know things that I don't. So they can help me with things. They can guide me. They can show me things. They can help in the ways that energy can be moved, in the way that they can like communicate with something, a cardinal, which is the sign for another archangel. Okay, let me know whenever I'm on the right track here, and I'll be that gun. Here comes the cardinal. And bluebirds. I have a friend that they represent this friend with a bluebird, and I can't tell you how many times I've been on the phone with this friend, and I've literally stopped the car and taken pictures of bluebirds. I said, "Oh my God, there's a blue jay!" And it's been like, "Whose driveway did you just pull in? Do you even know?" No, I don't have a clue, but I'm going to take a picture of this blue jay, and it's because it is energy personified that is giving me a sign that I'm supposed to understand, because they use signs, they use subtleties. That's why I'm so clairaudient, is folks. I don't get signs. It's like, oh, there was a great blue jay. And it was like, how long before I started understanding that blue is a representative, a color that represents him, and that blue jays represent, I didn't get it. And I still kind of don't. I just love blue jays, and I know that they represent this friend. And so it all flows together, and it's touchy-feely for me. But still, if they want me to know something, they just gotta tell me because it's just it's too subtle for me. I don't deal in subtleties. I don't do things that way. And so my guides don't deal with me that way. All right. Now, so what are these dragons? So angels, archangels, ascended masters, ancestors, those all kind of make sense. And we're calling those energies in to help us. What are these dragons? Okay. What are these unicorns? If it's not all fairy dust, if it's not all, fairy tales, if it's not all magical thinking, then what are these things? Okay. Dragons are able to go into the denser energies. These are dimensional beings. They're from a dimension that they are able to hold their vibrational frequency. They're high vibrational beings. but they're able to hold that frequency and go into the denser energies that we may be dealing with. And they're able to help us there without losing their frequency. So we want the dragons around because, well, they're like the special forces of the archangel world. Okay. Archangels are tough, but it's kind of like when you need the Marines. Okay. The archangels ride dragons into the dense energies to fight battles. Let's think of it in that way. I'm telling you, folks, personification of energies. So you can understand the energies you're dealing with. If I want to deal with something that is deep and heavy energy, a dragon energy, that is a dimensional energy that I can tap into, that can handle the denseness of that energy, the heaviness of it, the difficulty of that energy, and help me get into frequency, that it can hold the frequency and not slip into dense energy itself. It can hold the frequency, transmute that energy that I'm dealing with, turn it into unconditional love, and then bring my energy back to me. I call myself back to myself across all time, space, universes, lifetimes, and dimensions, so I can have that energy in the here and now, and it's transmuted, and I can use it now. And is very happy to do that for me. So it's a dragon energy. That's the personification we've given. Now, at some point, did someone visually see a dimensional being that was a dragon, and that's where that mythology came from? There's a possibility of that. There's a reason we have all the myths that we have. So there is a very good possibility that in this plane of existence, that dimension of energy, if it's vibrating where we can see it, that is the tactile form it has, just like this is the tactile form we have. That is a possibility. That has not been channeled to me, so I don't know. But that is a possibility. I don't know. Then the same thing with unicorns. Now, unicorns are very high vibrational energy. They don't even go down into that denseness though. They don't go down there. They don't go there. They stay very high vibrational. But they go so high up that what is called Christed light. And again, don't think I'm talking religion. I'm not talking Christianity, Jesus Christ, although I am talking about the ascended master Christ in many ways, because Christ is a personification of this light. Christ is also a keeper of this light, but it's a high vibrational light, a very high vibrational part of unconditional love. Okay, so the unicorns, they carry very high vibrational, they're that frequency, this very high vibrational Christed light. Okay, that's what we're talking about then. We're talking about a vibrational frequency, all right? We're not talking religion. We're talking a vibrational frequency that we're in, okay? So when we say Christ light, we're not talking religion. We're talking about a vibrational frequency of light, Christed light, okay? So, and often it's depicted as blue, which transmutes all negative emotions, okay? But it doesn't have to be. It can be gold, it can be white, because it's high vibrational light, all right? Okay, and how often did in the Bible, how often does Christ talk about being the light? There's so many metaphors about light. There's a reason for all of this, folks. You see, we were at the level of consciousness that things were being communicated to us that we did not understand. And so we wrote them down, we interacted with them at the level of consciousness that we could. And perhaps some did even understand and purposefully distort them, and perhaps they did not. And it doesn't matter, because whatever happened with what the truth was and what it wasn't, whoever decided to call the people who understood the truth witches and warlocks and bad people and all those things, whoever decided, oh, we know the truth, but we're going to hide it from everyone else. And we're going to meditate and we're going to bring in light, and but we're not going to tell everybody else about it. Whoever those people were and why ever their reasons were, et cetera, it doesn't matter. You see, if we let that matter, if we hold on to those things, then everything about us that we don't want to matter, we're putting out the energy of, don't forgive me for that either. And that is not unconditional love. Unconditional love does forgive. That doesn't mean you let the frequency back in. It doesn't mean that someone who will deceive you, if they're still in the energy of deception, you don't let them back in to deceive you again. You're not obligated to do that, but you do forgive it. Because you want to be forgiven for everything you've done. So you have to put out the energy of forgiveness, but you first have to truly forgive. You have to forgive yourself for everything. You have to be authentically in that energy. You can't fake forgiveness. You can't fake any energy. And you can't pretend to not be in an energy you're in either. If you are angry and you feel hate, that's what's reverberating out. You have to feel it and deal until you heal it. Authentically feel, really deal, and really heal. So you become authentically the vibrational frequency you want to be treated as, and then put that out. And when we've done that, then we're in unconditional love because we want to be loved unconditionally ourselves. We don't want there to be conditions on, well, yeah, she messed up, so I'm going to send bad energy to her. We don't want that. So we don't get to do it either. It doesn't mean that just because they don't send bad energy to us, that they're going to let us in their energetic field. They may have learned better. They may be like, I don't know that I trust her, but I'm not going to send bad energy to her. We have that same right. I don't know that I can trust that energy, that organization, that friend, that relative, that place to work. I don't know that I can trust that. I don't know that I can let that back in my energetic field yet. I haven't seen a change in them. They still seem to be operating in that energy, but I absolutely have let that go because I want anything I have done to be let go of. Understand? Okay. So that's the energy that unicorns bring us. They operate at that frequency. So when we want to be able to bring ourselves into that vibrational frequency, this is how we do it. That's why we call them in. That's a frequency they function in. So you're like, how do I get to that frequency you're talking about? You say it's not magical thinking. How do I get there? Let the unicorns come in and fill you with this Christed light. We are light beings. And I'm going to get into more about the multidimensionality of being a light being. But until we're there, you can just accept the light from other dimensions. And this is part of that. All right. So the unicorns, the phoenix, they're high vibrational, strong. They're dragon and unicorn together. So they can go down to the dense, but they can go up to the very high. Phoenix raises from the ashes. That is the way we are, that's the mythology. So therefore, that is what they represent to us. That is the personification, that is the energy. And then there's Pegasus energy, which is magical. All right. It's Phoenix, but back to unicorn. It's not doing dragon stuff. It's not fiery and all of that. It's back to light and airy and touchy-feely and lovey-dovey and all that stuff. So that's even higher energy. And that's a newer energy that we are aware of here. We were only aware of unicorn energy. And so that's what we were calling the highest vibrational energy, but no, Pegasus energy is even higher. So we let that energy in. And when we allow that to inundate ourselves, when we allow ourselves to soak that in, we raise our vibrational frequency. When your frequency goes up, you cannot operate in dense energies. So you get your frequency up. You ask these beings, these energies, these dimensions to come in and help you. You call in your guides, the angelic realm, these personifications. And then you put pink light around you. That's transcendent love. Okay, energy is light rays. So different colors of light rays have different functions. Pink is transcendent love. It's love that transcends all negative or deep or dense emotions. So surround yourself with that. Your frequency goes up. Okay. That's why now when I meditate, I say all white light contains all color spectrum. But I differentiate that out and I say, yes, bring in the white light, but I want from it all the color spectrums. I want all the healing capability that is in it. And I specifically want the pink transcendent light because I want to soak in all of that high vibrational energy I can have. And then I want to stay there. I want to keep that energetic field. I want to maintain the integrity of that. And so we put on angelic cloaks because those dimensional beings that we were talking about, those other personifications we were talking about, they have ways that they leave high vibrational frequencies of unconditional love with us that literally help us hold that energy in. They strengthen our energetic field. Okay. So it's harder for non-resonant energies, for lower vibrational energies to bombard us and devolve the integrity of our field. So you can be around someone who is putting you down longer before you start feeling your vibrational frequency go down. Don't test it, but you can. So you can scroll on social media longer and bombard your chakras, the portals, and let more in before your frequency starts going down, but don't test it. But that's what those are for. So we call in all those cloaks, and then I put myself in my pyramid, and I put everyone else in them too. The universe is run by universal law. Energy responds to the sacred geometry of things. It is energy. There is no one up there with a chess set moving things around. It is governed by the mathematics of it all, the science of it all. The pyramid, I was channeled this early on, is my personal sacred geometry shape. But there have been many studies done on it and how the shape of it is excellent for intensifying or potentiating energy, for healing, for all sorts of things. And it's a good place to be in for when you're opening up your chakras to let energy in. It's a way to also protect yourself so that energy you don't want in is coming in. So I put myself in my pyramid and I put everyone else in it too. So this is the safe space or the sacred space. Sacred not meaning in religion, but as in the safe space, the sacrosanct, the space that I take responsibility for, that I am personally making sure is sovereign space. I'm making sure that it is safe by calling in all these energies that I know are for our best and highest good and are potentiating the work we are doing while we are meditating. And that is how I set the sacred space, or I set the energy for a meditation. So that's what all of that is about. And I know I went an hour telling you all of that, and I meant to go much, much less. But I hope this explains what we're doing at the beginning of meditation. And I have much more to teach you about meditation, but obviously I'm not going to do it today. If you have questions about any of this, please reach out and let me know. There are a couple of books, well, actually a trilogy of books with this information in the works with artwork by my friend Annette. And then, of course, the Twin Flame book has some of this in it too. And it is not done yet, but I've got a big dent knocked in it, folks. And of course, I'm very willing to talk about this with groups of people or with anyone, actually. And I'm very willing to lead you in meditations. And yes, I do readings, but it's not to tell your future. It is to show you what the energy is at the moment, and then to guide the meditation to help you feel, deal, and heal. So you can be as full of this Christed light, this high vibrational energy as possible. So you can put out the energy of what you want the world to be. How do you want to be treated? Treat yourself that way first. That is true self-love. That is true self-care. Become authentically that energy. And then you don't have to work at it. When you're authentically that's the energy you put out. And that's what you attract back to you. It's what you're butterfly affecting out. That's what surrounds you. And when we all do it, then that's what the world becomes. There is no dense energy for the world to be pulling from. And this is how we make the world a peaceful place without ever firing a single shot or having a single argument or raising our voice or any of those things. We actually do it with love. And yes, we start it with calling in angels and archangels and unicorns and dragons and Pegasus and phoenixes and oh my. Have an amazing day, you all.